Well, here's my ZZR1400 that I've had for about 6 months and done very little mileage on it. The reason I'm doing this video is because we arranged a trip to the Spanish Formula 1 for this year in May 2017, and trawling all over the internet and looking at other videos on YouTube as to what rack to fit on this for a top box. After looking online, a lot of them look complicated, and there's not many videos on YouTube that show just how simple some of these can be. So I thought I'd have a quick look and have a look at the difference between standard Kawasaki products and people like SW Motech and Givi, which is the one I've got fitted on my bike now. There is a few things I'd like to highlight with the original Kawasaki, SW Motech and the Givi rack. The reason I went for Givi is the weight. Now the others may look good, although they're quite hard on a scale of 1 to 10 fitting. It would be an 8. This one is probably around a 4 or 5 once you get things in place, and 1 or 2 things that you have to change, which they don't tell you about in the actual fitting. If we look at the SW Motech, is more or less exactly the same as the original Kawasaki, only the Kawasaki looking around £155, SW Motech around 130 if you can get a good deal. Now, as you can see here, you have to remove the cowling for this frame to go underneath, which is a lot of hassle when you're removing a lot of things from your bike that you don't really want to, and for extra money and less weight. Now, once it's all finished, it does look rather neat, although some modifications are needed to the seat itself on the underside to stop any rubbing or anything else like that. The weight limit on the SW Motech and on Kawasaki top plate is 7.5 kilos. That's not including your top box. So the bigger the top box you have, the less you've got to put in it. With the Givi one, it's a lot easier to fit. As you can see, there's around 6 bolts plus the mounting plate, which is not very difficult at all. I'm quite a novice. It took me about 15 minutes, 20 minutes to fit. One thing I would suggest is the hangers for the exhaust. As you can see highlighted here, number 9, the bolts are way too short, the originals. You probably get two turns of a bolt on the back. It is a nylon lock nut that goes onto the back of it, just here. This bolt here, which says quite clearly use original, is not. I bought one identical with 10mm longer, so check your manufacturer's bolt. It really does need to be 10mm longer for it to be as safe. You know, you're carrying your luggage on the back, you don't want it going missing. So they're the instructions for this, and I'll have to show you a quick a tutorial on the bike as to where all the bolts go, and you can make up your mind yourself. The Givi, I might add, holds 10 kilos, not including the top box, mounting plate and all the rest of the kit. So I mean, it doesn't look that bad, and it's easier to take off if you don't want it on after touring. I mean, I like my seat cowl, my solo seat cowl back on once I'm done, which I will do. Going over to the bike, this is the Givi frame with the mounting plate on the top. Now the mounting plate goes on top of the original Givi plate, which they've got a nice cutout here. It's quite invisible, so you know it's a lot easier to clean. The mounts look fairly neat and curved around the bike. These are the bolts that I was on about. At the back you can see the nut, and you can't see very much coming out the back of it. I had 2 turns and that was over tight in my opinion. I've removed the seat, and as you can see here, you have 2 black bolts that go straight through the pillion handle into the frame where you remove it from. Now they're the same bolts. At first I made the mistake of taking the pillion handle off, see if it was the right way to do it, because it wasn't. The instructions are on 1 piece of paper. That's how easy it is to do. And none of this has to be removed, just the 2 bolts. So don't remove your pillion handle, it sits on the top. tighten up as much as you can, and the plate's on. I do recommend, however, fitting the plate first. It was a bit awkward putting these two Allen key headed bolts in the top afterwards, but I managed to do it in the end. I also made a good judgment and I didn't put these covers in until I'd finished, because I did need to take the plate off and loosen it up a bit to get to these. So it's just one bolt on the hanger, 2 bolts on the plate, and then the plate itself, the top box mono lock or mono key plate, is just 2 Allen keys. So taking it off, if you leave the plate attached, is 4 bolts. Now with the SW Motech one, you'll have to take off your cowling again, which is a long job. There is nut after nut after nut. It's just not worth it. This is the top box I chose. It is a Givi V47 mono key system. There's no need for nothing any bigger, in my opinion, just for a couple of weeks touring in Europe. I have, however, bought the tank lock system just to put all my personal belongings in, and I will be putting a tail pack on also. Nice little seat there, seat back for the children. So all in all, I think it doesn't stick out very much. The curves and the design, the Givi have done a really good job of manufacturing this top plate mounting system. Anybody else who's got a 2012 to 2016-17 ZZR, that is the model number you want, the manufacturer's code, and that is for all ZZR1400s from 2012 and onwards. I hope you found this information useful. I think a lot of people want to save money nowadays and make things as easy as they can and remove it, because you surely don't want to go on a day out with a top box and racking system all fitted. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll try and do some more tutorials when I get around to doing a bit more on my bike. Cheers then.